Let's say you have a computer with GarageBand and $1,000 to start building a studio. How are you going to spend that money? Believe it or not, this was the exact same situation I found myself in 10 years ago when I first started recording my music at home. Along the way, I've made a lot of mistakes, learned a tremendous amount of valuable information, and most importantly, I've developed an incredibly efficient recording technique. Reflecting on all of it, I've been able to boil down everything I've learned into 6 fundamentals. These fundamentals are the cornerstones of my recording process, and I truly wish I would have known these when I first started, as it would have saved me a lot of time and money. Number 1, invest wisely. The mistake I've seen a lot of people make is that they go for the expensive thing. They'll spend most of their money on an expensive microphone, or a new guitar, or top-notch monitors, when in reality, you can get so much more bang for your buck if you invest it wisely. As I mentioned earlier, when I first built my home studio, I had a MacBook with GarageBand and $1,000 to spend. So what did I buy? First, I bought a pair of M-Audio Studio monitors for $80, a Scarlett 2i2 audio interface for $100, an Alias Q49 MIDI controller for $90, a blue baby bottle microphone for $200, a Squier electric guitar for $160, a Squier bass guitar for $200, acoustic treatment for $34, various cables for $30, and PodFarm amp simulation software for $100. And with that exact setup, I recorded 2 full-length albums. Of course, over time, I eventually updated my gear. I got a better computer with Logic Pro, better monitors, I bought better guitars, and a nicer MIDI controller. But when I was first starting out, that initial cheap gear was actually really amazing. It outperformed my expectations tenfold and has held up incredibly well. And just for comparison, buying all of that gear to build my first studio cost considerably less than it would have cost me to record a single song at a professional studio. The average day rate is around $500. Typically, it takes 3 days in a professional studio to finish just one song. When you compare that $1,500 investment to the $994 you could spend building your own studio, it truly is a no-brainer. I'm telling you, if you invest your money wisely, you'll be blown away at what you're able to create. Number 2, set up your room properly. Before you record anything, there are a few things you can do in your room to put your best foot forward. First of all, be sure to use the flattest monitors that you can get. A lot of commercial speakers color the sound. They boost the bass, scoop the mids, and boost the treble, all in an attempt to make the speakers sound better. But this built-in coloring means they won't provide you with an accurate representation of how your music sounds, which isn't good. Flat studio monitors are flat, so they don't have any such coloring, which makes getting a professional sounding mix much easier. In addition to studio monitors, I also recommend you hang up some treatment to absorb any natural reverberation or echo that's present in your room. If hanging up treatment isn't an option, I recommend setting up in a room that has reverb absorbing materials, like carpet and a bed. The more controlled and acoustically dead the room is, the more accurate your music will sound during playback, and the more professional your individual tracks will sound when recorded with a microphone. A properly treated room combined with flat monitors will give you the best representation of your mix and will provide you with the very best starting point for the music production process. Number 3, use the technology. So I'm going to assume that most of you watching this aren't multi-instrumentalists, and there's nothing wrong with that. A huge hurdle that I'm sure a lot of you are facing is the difficulty of recording instruments that you don't know how to play. For example, how are you supposed to record a drum track if you don't play the drums? Well, let's see. So here I have a guitar riff and vocal line that I'd love to add drums to.
I wanna start today, I wanna try to be a better version of me, a better human being. I wanna let go of my past mistakes. I wanna start fresh with an empty slate. If I could flip.
To add a drum beat to this in Logic, we can just add another track, select drummer. Now we can use the tools to dial in a beat that works for our song.
I wanna start today, I wanna try to be a better version of me.
Maybe I want to add bass to this track as well. And with the Easy Bass plugin, I can just tell the software what the chord progression is, and it'll give me a simple bass line that works well in the song.
I wanna start today, I wanna try to be a better version of me.
Right here, there's a vocal line that's a bit flat, and it's a bit of a bummer.
In a day's with my hand out the window.
Thankfully, with Auto-Tune, I can track the pitch, correct the pitch, and adjust the strength of the Auto-Tune so it isn't noticeable. The amount of power in this computer is absolutely insane, and if you take advantage of it, even the most beginner-level songwriters can make amazing recordings. You just have to use the tools. Number 4, remember, nothing is permanent. Even after you've recorded something, remember that you can always go back and change it. If we want to change this from a piano to a marimba, we can. If we want that guitar to be clean instead of distorted, we can change it. If we want that drum kit to sound bigger, we can change it. Everything we record is adjustable. And as we lay down more tracks and the song evolves, the choices we made earlier on in the process might need to be adjusted to best serve the song. Remember, nothing is permanent. Number 5, perfection lies in the imperfections. With all the tools we have to enhance our performances and make them perfect, I want to encourage you to exercise restraint when you use them. Sure, we can auto-tune all of our vocals, adjust every drum hit so it's perfectly on time, flex every guitar note to the grid, and make the velocity of every MIDI note perfectly consistent. But by making all of these things perfect, we're actually making our recording worse. It's somewhat ironic, but a lot of times the more perfect a recording is, the more uninteresting it is to listen to. And that's because the character of your music lies in the small imperfections. When you use technology to strip all those imperfections away, there's nothing left to separate you from anyone else. Now, this isn't to say that pitch correction, quantization, and flex time aren't amazing tools, but it's important to exercise judgment when you use them. When I first learned how to use these tools, I would use them on literally everything. At first, I thought it made everything sound better, but in reality, it made my recording sound incredibly dull.
When you're laying on a mountain and you're staring at the moon.
You can hear the auto-tune, you can hear the quantization, and thus, this recording lacks personality. We all have unique traits and little quirks that make us who we are, and that principle applies to the music we create as well. So embrace your imperfections, and I promise it'll make your music more interesting. Number 6, always be learning. Recording techniques, equipment, and software are always evolving. There truly isn't one end-all be-all way of doing things. New techniques and technologies emerge, old ones obsolesce, so it's important to stay up to date and always be learning. When I started recording music 15 years ago, I did things much differently than I do today. I didn't have half the tools that are available to me today. If I would have just kept recording the same way I did 15 years ago, I never would have evolved to where I am today. Embracing new technologies and techniques is also a fantastic way to inspire yourself. I've had many times where I felt creatively stagnant, and in those times I take it upon myself to learn something new. It might be a new plugin, or a new drum pack, or a new sampler. When I learn something new, it opens up an entire world of possibilities, which gets me excited to keep on creating. If you want to learn how to record your music at home, be sure to check out my new program, Spare Bedroom Studio. Spare Bedroom Studio is an in-depth course and community specifically designed for songwriters that teaches how to go from an idea to a polished professional recording in a home studio. We cover what equipment to buy, what plugins to use, how to record, how to enhance those recordings, how to mix, master, and release your music, and everything else you need to know to get great recordings in your home studio. We also have a community of songwriters to ask questions, collaborate with, and to share your work. Be sure to click the link below to learn more about that. Here on YouTube, I'm always recording music and sharing tips and tricks. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, this has been Songs by Spencer, signing out.